MEF has committed to evolve with the industry. The industry is changing. Software is playing a very relevant role in two ways. Software, and the hackathon in particular, is going to help MEF close the loop. And what that means is that MEF will learn about the internal projects, but putting those projects to the test, putting the projects in the hands of developers and other open source organizations, getting feedback and accelerating the development of both. So Hackathon is not just a single event, it is a long-term plan with infrastructure and projects and processes, support from MEF for the purpose of developing a long-term vision, which is MEF turning into a organization that understands where the market's going. It has a strategy to fulfill the needs of the market.
Yes, a lot of people tend to think of hackathons as only competitive, Red Bull, pizza, 48 hours, non-stop, competing for prizes, very intense. That's not what we're doing here with the LSO Hackathon. We're doing a very collaborative hackathon, which is bringing together people from different backgrounds to educate each other, learn what the requirements of each side are, and to create output from that. And the prize is actually the benefit of having learned and achieved something together. We're bringing together communities, two types of community, those that have a lot of networking experience, CE 2.0 experience. For example, from our community of 4,000 MEF certified professionals on the one hand, and on the other hand, programmers, people that don't necessarily have any knowledge of networking, but have a lot of background in open source programming, like in Open Daylight and OpenFE. So we bring them together, they work together in teams for the first time quite often, and they create the output that's going to be valuable for the MEF and for the open source community. Well, there are two types of objective here. One objective is to extend the contributions, the existing contributions in areas relating to carry Ethernet services, contributions into the Open Daylight and OpenFE communities. So that's one type. The second type is to take existing MEF projects and to provide those requirements to the people in the LSO Hackathon so that they can actually code what's been defined in the requirements and see how it works and provide that feedback immediately to the teams that are the projects that are developing those specifications. So it's a loop-back mechanism, a very agile approach to developing standards.
I believe we have a new opportunity here with MEF in that instead of, there's two models. There's a traditional specification or standards model where we wait a couple years for the specification to come out and then we start developing code. There's also the model of the open source where we just start developing code. I think what we have here is the SCA, now also known as the Network Resource and Provisioning API, is taking a hybrid approach, which is we're building the specification, but we're hacking to provide feedback into the specification development. So I think it's a hybrid approach, and I'm very excited to be a part of that. We have some really good people from all parts of the industry, and I think it's a new model that hopefully will continue on the rest of the LSO APIs.
Thank you. Cable Labs has two projects in the open source community, one with OpenFE called the LSO API, and really the project within LSO API is to develop and document the necessary APIs needed to provision a MEF services. So we start off by looking at a MEF E-line services. How do you provision MEF E-line? What are the APIs needed from the top? And then really the Uni Manager plugin is a plugin that will reside inside the Open Daylight controller to utilize the APIs and to provision the various network devices. So both of these are in the open source community. We brought it into the LSO Hackathon to have the developers look at our code, look at our the models and the APIs, and for them to work on it to make it a complete set that operators could use. One of the main benefit of the Uni Manager project and also the LSO API project is that it gives the operators, a standardized method to provision MEF services using open source platform. In my previous role at a service provider, when we provisioned MEF services, it was all done manually and with manual provisioning. We always ran into issues. We always ran into problems. So this would really, this would reduce any kind of errors going into the provisioning. And the other benefit is if you look at the third network, one of the use cases having on-demand guaranteed bandwidth anywhere you are, whether you're at your home, airport, I think Nan mentioned in a hotel, wherever you are. So the APIs that we develop will really make that use case come true. The third network, which will definitely benefit the operators who are providing that service, and also for the end customers who will be using that service.
Gives us a totally new opportunity beyond what we've done to date with the MEF in the more standards development track. It really gave our guys an opportunity to innovate, to do some things outside of the box that were more trial and error to see what works and what doesn't work. So it's been a very interesting exercise for us to explore what is to us a very new paradigm in advancing, speeding up the activity of the MEF. And so far we've learned a ton and want to continue with the exercise going forward as we do more and more of these kinds of exercises. Just for the exchanges within the room have been very fascinating to watch how competitors and collaborators alike work together to move the industry forward in a very rapid fashion. So we're very pleased with how it's gone so far.
We've been involved through liaison agreement to start with on the definition of the API, so-called the Service Configuration API. That is the API that is being implemented during that hackathon. The API that the MEF is implementing is actually an implementation of a forum API. So it's a great effort. It's a great collaborative effort, and it's really, really, really interesting to see one of the forum API being adopted by the MEF and being executed or implemented.
That's an excellent question, because the Unite program is all about industry collaboration. It is about extending the reach of the MEF organization into our organization members. And the important thing is that what we're trying to do with this is get more people from the organizations to come out and interact with the MEF, people that wouldn't normally interact with the MEF. And what we just have seen in the hackathon that just concluded is that we got members that would not have normally come to a MEF meeting, came to a MEF meeting, are interacting, and now are going to become part of the standards development process. And that's part of the thing about Unite. Unite is talking about how do we change the development process to include agile development lifecycle? How do we improve the relationship between traditional standards bodies and the open source community? And we're leveraging the hackathon for our community building efforts.
The carrier Ethernet stuff and the MEF stuff that's going on here is really important for us, and while all of the possibilities of LSO and NFV and all that are tremendous, without good standards and frameworks that everybody can talk on a level playing field, it's going to go nowhere. So, like the LSO Hackathon is very important for us. It's a chance to meet our customers, and it's a chance to understand their concerns. And what it does as well, I think the LSO Hackathon, as opposed to MEF standards development, is it allows engineers to get involved in the process and build it from the ground up. I think that the general thrust of something like MEF is creating standards that operate from the top down, and this is a real chance to work things from the ground up, and it allows engineers to get involved, test the concepts of these MEF standards from the bottom up. It's very useful. So I think one of the main things we got was understanding, how the likes of carriers and operators view the MEF standards and view the whole concept of NFV and SDN, and they're really taking it very, very seriously. They see it as their future, and it really reinforces the strength of the direction we're taking. We're choosing to implement protocols like NetConf and do them in a MEF compliant way, and you can really see the direct benefit of that in a very real way that we haven't been able to see before, and that's directly from the hackathon itself. You're meeting them, you're talking about the same things, and you're getting results with them, sitting down with them. It's a really good opportunity.
First of all, I would like to thank Metro Internet Forum, MEF, for providing us a platform where different companies can come and collaborate and work on a code and help in attaining MEF third network vision. There were participants from carrier Ethernet, like we have AT&T, CenturyLink participating from carriers. Then we had companies from the open source communities like Open Daylight, OPNFV participating. And then we had MEF and TM Forum, standard organization, who came and participated. So it helped in collaboration and common learning for all the companies. Different companies came up, whatever they have learned so far, they shared their knowledge with other companies, and it was a collaboration environment, not a competitive environment. We all developed our work together and came up with a working codes that would be shared again back to the open source communities. And that source code could be used by different organizations, by different carrier companies, and implement in their organization. The goal is to attain a common set of service attributes that MEF has standardized, and if all carrier organization uses those set of common attributes, we will have much faster provisioning cycle. There will be a reduced cost, and consumer will benefit a lot with the performance and securities. So it is a step towards attaining that third network goal and coming towards a common architecture of CE 2.0. So as a team, we learned a lot, and hopefully in the future we would be participating more on this in this hackathon. Once again, I would like to thank all the sponsors of GEN15 for hosting the LSO Hackathon and giving us this big opportunity.
Well, many hackathons are about purely generating code. We organized the first MEF LSO Hackathon with a slightly broader vision, I think, which is about building a platform for development that combines together orchestration software code, actually, but also carrier-grade CE 2.0 network devices. And the reason is that we want to allow the MEF developers community to run and test their code and APIs on these CE 2.0 certified devices that are used widely by many service providers all around the globe. So effectively, it corresponds, these network devices, to CE 2.0 reference services. That will be the basis of future LSO certification modules that the MEF will define. Absolutely. We've seen a lot of collaboration actually happening this week in the hackathon. For instance, we've seen the participants sharing, exposing their models like Yang models or JSON schemas. We've seen a lot of help and collaboration around tools and software environment like Swagger or Open Daylight, And we've seen also in terms of testing configuration of these network devices that I was talking about being tested and verified. So it was quite impressive actually to see software and network experts communicating, interacting together around the LSO and C 2.0 technologies that have been defined by the MEF. There is a long-term strategy from the MEF here. This is to build the idea to build a permanent platform for development and testing that will be in the cloud and that will be made available to the MEF developers community so that they can run and test their code during the hackathon and also during the future hackathon, because there will be a future event similar to that one, but also between the hackathon. The idea being to accelerate the implementation and the adoption of MEF standards by the industry.